today we're reacting to what happens to school shooters in prison. This is something that I would wonder and think about whenever some type of tragedy would happen, and I'd be hoping that they got the worst. So I'm hoping as I'm watching this, it did not end good for these sick, nasty ass people. Also, real quick, y'all go sub up to my live channel. This is where I'm gonna be posting my live clips as well as certain live reactions posting there that will not show up on any of these, you know what I'm saying? So if you want to catch those lives, make sure you pull up to the Twitch, man. Astral Dior.
When Nicholas Cruz got his sentence for a school shooting, he never would have imagined the horrors he would face in prison. Perhaps he thought serving time would be a vacation and not a mental and physical battle.
Right, and it's crazy because they be writing these manifestos and they be thinking that, you know, that they got this fucking this certain mindset and complex, like they own the world or some shit. My nigga, you finna get done dirt, boy. This the real world.
Chad Padilla, another notorious school shooter, was found dead under mysterious circumstances, possibly murder. Others, like Scott Pennington and TJ Lane, continue the violence in prison. The physical and psychological anguish school shooters face in prison is so terrible that many of them choose suicide instead of serving out time. Let's dive into some of the worst experiences for school shooters who got arrested.
And watch the trend of how these niggas look, by the way, y'all.
Pennington. Scott Pennington, a 17-year-old senior at East Central High School in Hurley, Mississippi, carried out a devastating shooting on January 11th, 1995. He killed 2 students and wounded 7 others using a .38 caliber revolver. Pennington's trial was highly emotional and intense, with the families of the victims demanding justice. He was ultimately sentenced to life in prison without parole. Scott Pennington's life behind bars has been a never-ending struggle for survival. He was taken to the Kentucky State Penitentiary in Eddyville. Before long, he became a target for violence and harassment from fellow inmates, but he isn't the kind of person to back down from a fight. In 2014, Pennington's situation took a turn for the worse. He was involved in a violent altercation with a contract food service employee at the prison, resulting in his placement in isolation. The isolation unit, meant to protect him from other inmates, became a source of psychological torment. He spent 23 hours a day in a small cell. The isolation took a devastating toll on Pennington's mental health. He began experiencing hallucinations, depression, and anxiety, and contemplated suicide multiple times. Solitary confinement is common for school shooters, as you will see in our next entry. Chad Padilla. Chad Padilla,
I hope every day there's agony and pain and suffering.
16-year-old student at Italy High School in Italy, Texas, carried out a shocking shooting on January
I live in Texas. I've never heard of Italy, Texas. That's crazy.
2nd, 2018. He opened fire in the school cafeteria, shooting 1 student 6 times. The injured student survived, but the emotional scars left by the incident would take much longer to heal. Padilla was sentenced to prison, where he faced the consequences of his actions. Chad Padilla's life in prison was marked by violence, uncertainty, and tragedy. As a school shooter, he was a target for aggression and hostility from fellow inmates. He faced numerous threats and attacks, making his existence behind bars a daily struggle for survival. Despite the measures put in place to keep him safe, Padilla continued to face harassment and intimidation from other inmates. He was subjected to verbal abuse.
Oh my gosh, look how they got, damn. Look at this person and how they gotta exit their cell. Get on your knees, put your hands through here. We put chain in that shit. As we open the door, put this bucket on this nigga's head. Damn.
Threats and even assaults.
What did he do?
The constant stress and fear took a toll on his mental health, and he struggled with anxiety, depression, and PTSD. One day, he was found dead in his prison cell under circumstances that remain mysterious and controversial. The exact cause of death remains unknown, sparking ongoing speculation and investigation. Our next entry did not show remorse and would continue to act violent in prison. Luke Woodham. Luke Woodham's rampage at Pearl High School in 1997 was an unpredictable incident. On that fateful day, Woodham, then 16, killed his mother, Mary, by bludgeoning her at their home before heading to school with a rifle. He opened fire in the hallway, killing 2 students, Kentrell McRae and Lydia Dew, and wounding 7 others. Luke Woodham's life in prison has been hard. He is currently serving his sentence at the Mississippi State Penitentiary, also known as Parchman Farm. In 2000, Woodham was assaulted by another inmate, resulting in injuries to his face and head. This incident led to his transfer to a solitary confinement unit. Woodham's time in solitary confinement has been marked by psychological struggles.
Another crazy thing about when niggas be in solitary, it'd be like they be in there for months, years, That shit, I know that's crazy.
He has also experienced physical health problems, including chronic pain and digestive issues. Despite his isolation, Woodham has been able to pursue his education, earning a GED and taking college courses through a correspondence program. He has also received counseling and therapy to address his mental health issues. In 2019, Woodham's lawyers filed a lawsuit against the Mississippi Department of Corrections, alleging that his prolonged solitary confinement constituted cruel and unusual punishment. The lawsuit was settled out of court, with Woodham being transferred to the South Mississippi Correctional Institution. His story is unsettling, but pales in comparison to that of a next 12-year-old school shooter. Nicholas Cruz.
Bro.
Nicholas Cruz, born on September 24, 1998, is one of the most notorious school shooters
I was about to say, I know this guy.
On February 14, 2018, he perpetrated the devastating massacre at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, killing 17 people and injuring 17 others.
Wow.
In 2022, Cruz was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Cruz's journey through the criminal justice system has been...
Look at this nigga, bro. Look at his bitch-ass glasses. Look at this nigga, man. Look at him, bro.
A tumultuous one. Since his transfer to a maximum security facility, Cruz's life has become even more isolated. He spends most of his time in solitary confinement, with only 1 hour daily for exercise and limited interaction with other prisoners. Prior to the shooting, Cruz had behavioral issues and was a member of the Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps and the school's varsity air rifle team. He was a student at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, the very place where he would eventually carry out the tragic attack. Cruz's mental health has been a significant concern throughout his incarceration. He struggled with depression, anxiety, and attention deficit hyperactivity.
Bro, it's crazy. Like, yeah, nigga, obviously he's mentally ill, but like the worst way. Like, we gotta do this nigga the worst way, regardless of how mentally ill, depressed the nigga was. Like, we study and shit. There's nothing to study. There's nothing to study. Death, despair, tragic. Like this is how niggas like this need to be done. Regardless.
For activity disorder, which have been exacerbated by his isolation and the constant threat of violence. He's been placed on suicide watch multiple times.
Like, these niggas aren't humane.
To this day. Charles Andy Williams. Charles Andy Williams, a 15-year-old student at Santana High School in Santee, California, carried out a devastating school shooting on March 5, 2001. Williams, who was reportedly tired of being bullied, killed 2 students, Brian Zucker and Randy Gordon, and injured 13 others. In the weeks leading up to the shooting, Williams had attempted to seek help from a school counselor, but was told to return to class due to a full office. He told a school security guard that he was going to bring a gun to campus, but these claims have not been substantiated by evidence. On the day of the shooting, Williams brought an 8-shot 22 caliber Arminius HW7 revolver to school and began firing in the hallway and courtyard. The shooting lasted approximately 15 minutes, with Williams firing multiple shots before being subdued by a school security guard. Williams was arrested and later sentenced to 50 years to life in prison. According to reports, Williams has been serving his sentence at the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego, California. While in prison, Williams has been involved in several altercations with other inmates and has spent time in solitary confinement. He was denied parole in 2006 and 2019 and was involved in a fight with another inmate in 2011. Williams' family was part of the problem, much like our next school shooter.
William ass was not.
Robert Gladden. Robert Gladden Jr. was a student.
Look at the trend of these bitch ass niggas, man.
Perryville High School in Baltimore County, Maryland, who carried out a shooting on the first day of school in 2012. On August 27, 2012, Gladden, then 15 years old, brought a shotgun to school and shot and wounded a classmate, Daniel Barowie, in the cafeteria.
Is that a young man with Down syndrome? And he survived too. Boy. And he survived. Yo, I done brought the shotgun, hit the Down syndrome kid, and he still survived on your bitch ass. Stupid nigga.
Barowie, a 17-year-old special education student, was critically injured but survived. Gladden was arrested and charged with attempted murder
type
and
of
other
shit is
related
that?
offenses. In 2013, he pleaded guilty to the charges and was sentenced to 35 years in prison, with all but 20 years suspended. This meant that Gladden would serve at least 20 years in prison, with the possibility of parole. Gladden's life in prison is highly structured and monitored, with a focus on rehabilitation and preparing him for eventual release. He has been behind bars since 2012, when he was just 15 years old. He has received psychological treatment and counseling to address his mental health issues, including depression and anxiety.
So so he's just gonna go out into the world and be what and do what? What did you? Okay, you're trying to get a job. What did you do? Oh, you're the guy that did this. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. Like, he's gonna, like, we're not gonna accept him out here.
Also participated in educational programs, vocational training, and counseling sessions to address his behavioral issues and prepare him for re-entry into society. However, his privileges are limited, including restricted access to recreational activities, phone calls, and visitation. He has spent periods in solitary confinement as punishment for disciplinary infractions. T.J. Lane. T.J. Lane's rampage at Chardon High School lasted just over a minute, but its impact will be felt forever. On that fateful day, Lane, then 17, pulled out a .22 caliber pistol and fired 10 shots, striking 6 students. 3 of them, Daniel Parmator, Russell King, and Demetrius Hewlin, died shortly thereafter. Lane's motives remain unclear, but his actions were undoubtedly devastating. The victims' families and the community at large struggled to come to terms with the senseless violence. Lane's trial was a highly emotional affair, with the victims' families demanding justice. Lane showed little remorse.
Yeah, facts. Wow. They didn't make him take that bullshit off. This nigga's a bitch, bro. Put this nigga in a room with me. No, nothing. I'm saying just fisticuffs.
A t-shirt with the word killer emblazoned on it to his sentencing hearing. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Behind bars, Lane became a notorious figure, with many inmates viewing him with fear. He was initially housed at the Allen Correctional Institution, but was transferred to the Ohio State Penitentiary after a failed escape attempt in 2014. Lane's life in solitary confinement is a far cry from the chaos he unleashed that day. While some might see this as a fitting punishment, others argue that it's a necessary measure to ensure the safety of both Lane and his fellow inmates. While TJ rots in solitary, our next entry managed to secure a GED while serving life. Kipland Kinkle. On May 20th, 1998,
Kipland Kinkle. I'm sorry. Kipland Kinkle? Niggas is out here named Kipland with the last name Kinkle.
Town of Springfield, Oregon. Kipland Kip Philip Kinkle, a 15-year-old freshman at Thurston High School, carried out a devastating massacre that would leave a lasting impact on the community. The events leading up to the massacre began when Kinkle was suspended from school after being found with a stolen handgun in his locker. His parents, William and Faith Kinkle, were notified, and his father took him home, warning him that he would be sent to military school if his behavior didn't improve. Later that day, Kinkle shot and killed his parents at their home. The next day, Kinkle arrived at school armed with a semi-automatic rifle and 2 handguns. In the cafeteria, he opened fire on his classmates, killing 2 students, Ben Walker and Michael Nicolausen, and injuring 25 others. He was eventually subdued by fellow students and arrested. Kinkle was sentenced to 111 years in prison without parole. Kip Kinkle,
they should have beat the fuck out this nigga,
now 39, has spent the last 22 years trapped behind the cold walls of the Oregon State Correctional Institution in Salem.
I don't like how the nigga looks healthy. I don't like how he looks like he's thriving in this environment.
His life has been a never-ending cycle of solitude, confined to a tiny cell for 23 out of 24 hours a day. If you think
and like, if you ever, I know niggas don't be feeling bad for these niggas, but like, if you ever for a second feel bad for a 15-year-old, 16-year-old that did this, don't. Because when I was 15, I know not every 15-year-old is the same, but when you're 15, you're well aware of like, whoa, this is a huge, like, this is one of those things that alter the lives of everybody, not only yourself, but everybody involved. Like, this is a different, you know what I'm saying?
Story is heartbreaking. Wait till you see all the other names on our list. Michael Carneal. On December 1st, 1997, 14-year-old Michael Carneal opened fire on a group of students at Heath High School in West Paducah, Kentucky, killing 3 and injuring 5. Carneal was arrested and brought to trial, where he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Michael Carneal's life in prison has been...
Is that him now? Oh my gosh.
A never-ending struggle for survival. As a child killer and school shooter, he's been a target for violence and abuse from fellow inmates. He's faced relentless physical assaults, beatings, and threats. The psychological torment has been equally unending, with constant harassment and intimidation. The prison environment is harsh, and word gets around quickly. He has spent years in solitary confinement, isolated from the general population for his own safety. But even that hasn't been a refuge. He's faced constant noise, darkness, and claustrophobia, with limited access to to basic amenities. The isolation has taken a toll on his mental health, with reports of depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. After serving 25 years, Carneal
Damn, that nigga put weight on, boy.
Requested parole, citing the violence and abuse he suffered in prison. The parole board denied his request, and Carneal was returned to prison to continue serving his life sentence.
Yeah.
The only thing he has going for him is the fact that he is still alive. Most shooters killed themselves. Hribal. Hribal was a 16-year-old student at Franklin Regional High School in Murraysville, Pennsylvania, who carried out a mass stabbing attack on April 9, 2014. Armed with a pair of 8-inch kitchen knives, Hribal stabbed and slashed 20 students and a security guard, leaving 4 students with life-threatening injuries. Fortunately, all the victims survived. Hribal was arrested and charged with attempted homicide, aggravated assault, and other related offenses. In 2017, he pleaded guilty to the charges and was sentenced to 23.5 to 60 years in prison. His life is a far cry from the freedom and possibilities he once knew. Behind bars, Hribal's days are filled with the reality of his actions. He is surrounded by the cold walls of his cell, a constant reminder of the harm he inflicted on his classmates. Despite the gravity of his crime, Hribal is receiving the help he needs to address the underlying issues that led him down this path. He is engaged in regular counseling sessions and therapy groups, working to confront his depression, anxiety, and personality disorders. But rehabilitation comes with a price. Hribal's privileges are limited, and his every move is closely supervised by corrections officers. As the years pass, Hribal will have ample time to reflect on his actions and the lives he forever changed. Dylan Roof. Dylan Roof's name is forever linked to
This is a face that I recognize. I don't remember exactly what he did, but I've recognized this person.
A tragic event in American history. On June 17, 2015, Roof, a 21-year-old white supremacist, opened fire at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal
That's why.
Church in Charleston, South Carolina, killing 9 African-American parishioners, including senior pastor Clementa C. Pinckney. Roof was apprehended and faced legal consequences, including a highly publicized trial where he showed no remorse and was sentenced to death. Had he not received the death sentence, Roof would have faced life in prison without
and it would have been bad.
He would have been isolated and vulnerable to hostility from inmates. He is currently serving time in ADX Florence, where he spends his days in solitary confinement, isolated from the world he once sought to divide.
Until finally one day they knock on his cell and say, "It's time. It's time."
Cell, a small, sterile space, is his home for 23 hours a day. The only exceptions are brief moments of supervised recreation and limited visitation from approved individuals. The maximum security wing is his permanent residence, a place where the most dangerous and high-profile inmates are housed. Here, Roof is cut off from the outside world, with no access to the internet, phone calls, or even books. Regular psychological evaluations are a constant reminder that his actions have consequences, that his ideology of hate will not be tolerated. Even his limited recreational time is supervised, a precaution against any potential violence or radicalization.
The hell?
Mitchell Johnson and Andrew Golden. On March 24, 1998, Mitchell Johnson, 13, and Andrew Golden, 11, perpetrated the devastating Westside Middle School shooting in Jonesboro, Arkansas. The two boys, who were reportedly motivated by a desire for notoriety, pulled a fire alarm and then opened fire on students and teachers as they evacuated the building. The tragic attack resulted in the deaths of 4 students and 1 teacher, with 10 others injured. The young ages of the perpetrators and the premeditated nature of their crimes were shocking. The boys were arrested and held in juvenile detention facilities, where they awaited trial. Given their ages, Johnson and Golden were tried as juveniles, and the court handed down the maximum sentence allowed under Arkansas law at the time, confinement until they turned 21. Mitchell Johnson was released from the Arkansas Juvenile Assessment and Treatment Center in August 2005, while Andrew Golden was released in May 2007. Upon their release, both boys were placed on supervised probation and were prohibited from contacting the victims' families or each other. However, Johnson's life after release was marked by further legal troubles. In January 2007, he was arrested for possession of a firearm and marijuana.
Bitch ass nigga. Nah, man, You can't do none of that. You can't protect yourself with no strap. You can't enjoy gas.
Leading to a 4-year sentence in federal prison. Additional charges for theft and possession of a controlled substance in 2008 resulted in further incarceration.
Damn, he just...
Fryberg.
Out of there.
On October 24, 2014, Jalen Fryberg, a 15-year-old freshman at Marysville-Pilchuck High School in Washington, carried out a devastating shooting in the school cafeteria. Jalen had planned the attack in advance, inviting his friends to lunch before pulling out a Beretta handgun and opening fire. He shot 7 students, killing 4: Zoe Galasso, Gia Soriano, Shaylee, Chuckle Naskett, and Andrew Fryberg, his cousin. 3 others were wounded. Karen Parks, his cousin, Nate Hatch, and Carmen Reyes. As police responded to the scene, Jalen took his own life with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The victims included 2 of his cousins, Andrew Fryberg and Karen Parks, who were among those killed. Karen had tried to intervene, attempting to calm Jalen down before he began shooting. In the aftermath of the tragedy, authorities investigated how Jalen Fryberg had obtained the weapon used in the shooting. The investigation led to the arrest and conviction of Jalen's father, Raymond Fryberg, in 2015. Raymond was found guilty of illegally purchasing and possessing the gun used in the shooting, as well as additional firearm-related offenses.
I know his dad feel like a dickhead, boy. What? I know he felt like a dickhead.
Learned a hard lesson, unlike our next shooter, who continued taking his own life. Reyes used a semi-automatic handgun he had taken from his parents' home. He initially shot a student in the shoulder, then killed Lansbury, who was trying to intervene. He then shot another student in the abdomen before turning the gun on himself. The shooting lasted only a few minutes, and Reyes fired 6 shots in total. After learning about the shooting at Sparks Middle School, Liliana Reyes, his mother, noticed that the cereal boxes in the kitchen cupboard had been moved, suggesting that her son had accessed the family's guns. She called her husband to alert him to the situation. Later, police found 2 notes written by Jose in a spiral notebook inside his backpack that provided some insight into his motives. The incident was one of the first school shootings in the United States involving a student as young as 12. Had he not ended it all, he would have faced a hard life in prison due to his age and vulnerability. This story brings us to our next entry, the Angel of Death, Jeffrey Weise. On March 21, 2005, the community of Red Lake, Minnesota was forever changed when 16-year-old Jeffrey Weise carried out one of the deadliest school shootings in American history at Red Lake High School. Weise, who had struggled with tragedy and turmoil.
Look at the, like, when they have your school picture, bro, and this is what you can bring back to your mother, something's not right. At the house, something not right. Like, if I would have brought this back to my mom, she would have been fucking pissed. She would have been mad as a bitch. Boy, don't you ever. The fact that this is not going on means it's deeper. Not to get this nigga no benefit of the doubt, but it's just what it is. I'm scared this gonna hurt my stomach. Say February is when it expires, only the 6th.
Throughout his life, killed several people. Weise's troubled upbringing included the loss of his father to suicide 4 years earlier and his mother to a car accident that left her with severe brain damage. He was raised by his grandfather, a tribal police officer, and his grandfather's girlfriend, whom he killed along with his grandfather before heading to the school. Weise had a history of disciplinary issues and was known for drawing skulls and swastikas, expressing admiration for Hitler and calling himself the Angel of Death. At the school, Weise targeted students and staff, killing and injuring many before engaging in a shootout with police. He eventually took his own life in a classroom. In total, Weise killed 9 people and wounded 7 before taking his own life. The lives lost included his grandfather, his grandfather's girlfriend, a security guard, a teacher, and 5 students. Some believed death was a mercy for him compared to the mental and physical anguish he would have faced in prison had he lived. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. On April 20th, 1999, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, 2 seniors at Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado, carried out a devastating attack.
Probably the most known one ever, I gotta say.
13 people, injured 24 others, and then took their own lives by suicide. Harris, 18, and Klebold, 17, had planned the attack for over a year, using firearms, explosives, and incendiary devices. They targeted their peers and teachers, causing widespread destruction and chaos. The attack lasted approximately 49 minutes, ending with the pair's suicides in the library. For the families of the 13 who lost their lives, the pain and grief were unbearable. They struggled to come to terms with the senseless loss of their loved ones, and many turned to the legal system system in search of justice. Mark Maines, the individual who sold a gun to Eric Harris and purchased ammunition for him, was sentenced to 6 years in prison for his role in enabling the tragedy. Philip Duran, who introduced Harris and Klebold to Marnes, also faced prison time where he probably suffered unimaginable horrors. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold will forever be remembered as mass murderers.
That's just the biggest like bitch-ass niggas in the world.
32 people.
What?
Seung Hui Cho. Seung Hui Cho, a 23-year-old senior at Virginia Tech, carried out one of the most devastating mass shootings in modern American history on April 16, 2007, in a span of
day after my birthday. A day after my birthday. In 2007. I'm not good at math. Give me a second. I'm trying to see how old I was. 26 now. In 2025. I'm 26. 2025 minus 2007 is 18. So 26 minus 18. And I don't remember hearing about it. I mean, I was 8 years old. I guess my mom probably wasn't telling me, "Hey, son, did you see the..."
Injured 17 others and forever scarred the community.
And it was right after my birthday.
The attack was meticulously planned and executed, with Cho targeting 2 specific locations on campus. He first killed 2 students in a dorm room, then moved on to a nearby classroom building where he took the lives of 30 more people. The police were able to identify Cho through fingerprints left on the weapons used in the attack. In the aftermath of the tragedy, a manifesto and videos sent by Cho to NBC News revealed the depth of his anger and resentment. His writings spoke of a desire for revenge against a world he felt had wronged him, and a need for infamy and notoriety. If Cho had survived the attack, he would have faced life in prison without parole. Instead, Cho took his own life as the police closed in, leaving behind a trail of devastation and heartbreak that would be felt for years to come. Adam Lanza.
You need to die.
Adam Lanza, 20, carried out the tragic Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting on December 14, 2012
this
in
was
Newtown,
horrible.
Connecticut. He fatally shot 20 children and 6 adult staff members before taking his own life. Prior to the school shooting, Lanza killed his mother, Nancy Lanza, at their home. He then took her legally purchased firearms, including a Bushmaster XM15 E2S rifle, and went to the school, where he carried out the devastating attack. Lanza's actions that day were the culmination of a complex and troubled history. He had struggled with mental health issues.
What the fuck is wrong with this nigga, bro? Why are they why does this nigga look like this? I don't know, like this. That shit really made me mad. I really want to beat the fuck out this nigga.
Anxiety, depression, and obsessive-compulsive disorder, and had become increasingly withdrawn and isolated in the years leading up to the shooting. Lanza's motives for the shooting remain unclear, but it is evident that his struggles with mental health and his obsession with violence ultimately led to the tragic events at Sandy Hook Elementary School. The act was especially gruesome because 20 of his victims were below 7 years. If he hadn't taken his life, other inmates would probably have killed him in prison.
Yeah, it would have been, ooh,
seeking justice for those he murdered in cold blood.
Ooh, it would have been so bad.
Mercer. Christopher Harper Mercer was responsible for the tragic shooting at Umpqua Community College in Roseburg, Oregon on October 1st, 2015. He killed 9 people and injured 8 others before taking his own life as police arrived. The incident was one of the deadliest mass shootings in modern American history. Harper Mercer, 26, was a student at the college and had a history of mental health issues and a fascination with mass shootings. He was armed with multiple firearms, which he had legally purchased, and wore a flak jacket. During the attack, he targeted a classroom in the Snyder Hall building, where he shot and killed several students and the teacher. The shooting started at 10:38 a.m. PDT, and the first police response was at 10:44 a.m., 6 minutes after the first 911 call was received. The incident lasted for a few minutes, ending with Harper Mercer taking his own life as police arrived. The victims were shot in a classroom in Snyder Hall. Investigations revealed that Harper Mercer had a troubled history, with a fascination with violence and mass shootings. He had studied mass killings and had viewed videos of killings online. He had also been hospitalized for psychiatric issues and had been prescribed medication. These made his preferred weapon for violence a gun, just like our next killer. Salvador Ramos.
So these last people were just,
on May 24th,
they didn't even make it to prison.
A devastating mass shooting occurred at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. Salvador Ramos, an 18-year-old former student, carried out the attack, resulting in the tragic loss of 21 lives. Ramos, who had a history of being bullied and struggled with a speech impediment, had become increasingly fascinated with school shootings and sought notoriety on social media. His online behavior had raised concerns among his peers, with some even nicknaming him School Shooter. On the day of the shooting, Ramos arrived at the school around 11:30 a.m., armed with a semi-automatic automatic rifle and wearing body armor. He entered the school through an unlocked door and made his way to a classroom where he began shooting. The victims included 19 students, aged 9, 11, and 2 teachers, Eva Mireles and Irma Garcia. The shooting lasted for approximately 45 minutes before Ramos was fatally shot by a border patrol agent. The agent, who was off duty and in the area, responded to the scene and engaged Ramos, ending the attack. Perhaps Ramos was saved from unimaginable prison horror.
I wish he wasn't. They had to get him a certain way, but I wish he wasn't. This, like, the kid, like, they're all super bad, but there's like even a worse place in hell for the niggas that do this shit at the elementaries, bro. Bitch ass niggas, bro. I swear. That being said, man, let me know how y'all feel in the comments. Like the video, sub up, comment up, binge the rest of the videos on the channel, man. And I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I got another video dropping with this one today. It's gonna be long too. These were long, so show some love, man. Fuck these niggas. Love y'all. Y'all be good and make sure, you know what I'm saying, you see any weird shit, step in, bro. Be a hero. You see some weird shit, step in, bro. We gone, man. ADD, let do it.